"Do you want to have dinner with us?" a little girl asked the paralyzed poor girl sitting alone on Christmas Eve. The snow fell like quiet confessions from the sky, each flake landing softly on a Christmas Eve that had already forgotten her name. She sat beneath a stone arch in a small American town square, lights glowing warmly behind her, but never quite reaching where she was. The world was celebrating, laughing, gathering, while she remained still in her wheelchair, wrapped in a thin coat and thicker loneliness, believing this night was meant for everyone except her. Before the story goes any further, pause for just a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this exist because hearts like yours still care. Her name was Hannah Walker, and once, long before the wheelchair and the silence, she had believed in Christmas miracles. She had grown up in Ohio, in a small town where church bells rang loud and neighbors waved from porches. Faith had been her anchor, and music had been her joy. She used to sing in the church choir every Sunday, her voice rising like a promise. But life, as it often does, had taken a sharp turn she never saw coming. A late-night bus ride after a double shift, a slick road, a sudden crash, and everything below her waist went quiet forever. The doctors had spoken gently, but their words carried finality. She would never walk again. What hurt more than her body was how quickly the world learned to look past her. Medical bills swallowed her savings. Friends slowly stopped visiting. The choir found someone else to sing her part. Eventually, even her family drifted, not out of cruelty, but exhaustion. Hannah moved to a smaller city in Pennsylvania, where rent was cheaper and no one knew her before. She survived on disability checks and faith stretched thin, sharing a cold apartment with memories that felt heavier than her wheelchair. That Christmas Eve, she had gone out not because she had somewhere to be, but because staying inside felt like surrender. The town square glowed with decorations, a towering tree wrapped in golden light standing proudly at its center. Families passed by carrying shopping bags and laughter. Couples held hands. Children ran ahead, leaving tiny footprints in the snow. Hannah positioned herself near a bench, pretending she was just resting, not waiting for something she no longer believed would come. She watched people avoid eye contact, their smiles fading as they noticed the chair, the worn gloves, the stillness. She was invisible and exposed at the same time. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but pride kept her from going to the shelter. She told herself she would sit there a little longer, then go back to her cold apartment and let the night pass like every other. That was when she noticed the child. The little girl moved differently from the others, slower, more intentional, as if the world was something to be studied rather than rushed through. She wore a red knit hat that sat too big on her head and a blue coat zipped up to her chin. Snow clung to her curls as she stepped closer, her small boots crunching softly. Behind her, a man stood uncertainly near the lit tree, hands in his pockets, watching with concern and curiosity. Hannah braced herself for the familiar discomfort, the pitying look, the quick retreat. Instead, the child looked at her with something else entirely, something pure and unguarded. There was no fear, no confusion, no rehearsed kindness, just interest, just warmth. Hannah felt her chest tighten as the child extended her mittened hands toward her, not asking for anything but offering everything. The words that followed were simple, innocent, and impossibly heavy with grace. An invitation not just to eat, but to belong. For a moment, Hannah couldn't breathe. She glanced past the child to the man, whose name was Michael Reed, a widowed father doing his best to raise his daughter with faith instead of fear. He looked startled, then thoughtful, then quietly nodded, as if recognizing something sacred unfolding beyond his control. Hannah wanted to refuse. Years of being overlooked had trained her to expect rejection, not generosity. Accepting felt dangerous, like hoping again. But the cold, the hunger, and the gentle insistence of that small presence broke through her defenses. She allowed herself to be wheeled toward the warmth of a nearby diner, lights glowing like a promise she had almost forgotten how to